Yeah. What up? What up? It's Big Twins, aka the grimy one. Y'all know the Mobb Deep infamous clique. Yo, check it out, man. I want y'all to tap in to Cigar Talk Toronto, man. You know, they be putting it in, interviews and this and that. So check them out. Cigar Talk Toronto from Big Twin, y'all. You already know.
Welcome back to another episode Cigar Talk Toronto. Saturday night, we're on the Block 105 radio, and tonight we got a legend with us tonight. And if you don't know this guy's name, I'm sorry to say it, you can't call yourself a fan of hip-hop, because we got the producing and engineering legend, the Mix King, Steve Sola, with us tonight. Steve, what's going on?
What's up? What's up? So glad. Thank you so much for the great intro.
But thank you for all the music you've put out. You like your catalog is it's timeless. It's legendary. When you think about the music people are going to listen to for another 20, 30, 40, 50 years, you did that. And from a hip hop fan, thank you. Thank you for all the quality work you've put out there with, I mean, the artists are endless. Mobb Deep, Wu-Tang, Eminem. I mean, the list goes on. I could go on forever about the amount of people you've worked with. So how did you get into this whole engineering thing as you were a kid growing up? What was it that brought you into wanting to be involved with music and then production and engineering?
Okay. Well, I started as a guitar player, so music was always, in my heart, in my soul. Was in bands as a teenager and did a lot of stuff, underground stuff. Even back in the late '80s when Studio 54 reopened, we did a concert for a radio station, WLIR, which was a great thing. We were like tri-state area. We never blew up like real big, but the music was inside of me always. Songwriting and producing and playing. So then, eventually, the studios were pretty expensive, so I started recording myself, basically in my house, and it was sounding pretty good because I had, the good ears. And, some of my friends were like, "Oh, where'd you record that?" I said, "I recorded at my house." They said, "Oh, can you record me?" So I said, "Okay." So I started like basically not knowing engineering, recording. And then, bands, when you got to deal with 4 or 5 people, they're doing drugs, robbing places, and
Yep.
you have to put your life in other people's hands. I said, you know what? Let me just go solo and let me engineer, because people, they like what I was doing. So I went back, not back. I started going to school for audio engineering technology, and this was like '93. Then wanted to get into a real good studio, because I had one other studio in Long Island, but it was only 2 rooms. So I said, you know what, to become an engineer, I got to, intern, assistant engineer, like 2 rooms is not enough. Let me go into like a world-class studio, and that was Soundtrack, which had 9 rooms. It was like the hip-hop mecca, R&B. I mean, in one day we were recording, I was recording Jodeci. Jodeci is actually my first, platinum plaque and big, huge group. And, my friends were recording Biggie, Wu-Tang. Like in one day we were recording all these people with 9 different rooms and, great equipment. Some engineering guys out there, if we had SSL consoles. We had the Neve console, which is my favorite. We had API, Euphonics, Sony consoles. We had all kinds of, great consoles to learn from and, to actually use. And then at that time, there was a lot of hip hop.
Yeah.
Now I grew up, rock and roll, dance music, pop music, but I used to go to clubs and dance with, all that music, but it was also mixed in with hip hop. So I knew some of that hip hop music, and it was like, oh, I like this because it's rebel, it's street. Just like when I started doing, guitar, I liked rock and roll because it was rebel. It was against, like a lot of this, average kind of music. It was just
Yeah.
aggressive. So then, rock and roll became, I don't know if I'm going too long. That question, got me into the
Get
history.
going. Get going. We're gonna enjoy the story here.
Okay. So, rock and roll became a little bit like too, hair bands and too pretty and too non-aggressive. I mean, it was a little bit aggressive, but it was too polished. It wasn't like
Yeah.
rebel, aggressive rock and roll. And the 90s hip hop had that same feeling. The Mobb Deep, the Wu-Tang, Biggie, Mobb Deep specifically had that raw, aggressive street style that I, gravitated towards. That's what I loved. So I'm like, oh, I'm at home with this. So right after Jodeci, I started recording, Nas, including like Street Dreams, the song, and it was written. I recorded about 4 songs on that album, and I felt right at home. So it was like, oh my God, this is really my type of music. I mean, I knew I was gonna, be an engineer and a full-fledged, professional engineer. There's people that record. Those people are not really a professional engineer. They're pretty much recorders, which is cool. There's a lot of things you can learn on the internet. I've done a lot of mixking seminars. Taught a lot of people, taught a lot of up and coming engineers. So knowledge is power, and it's always good to learn. But you can't just hit the record button and think you're an engineer. You got to study your craft and get better. Quality. That's what I always strive for, is keep that rawness, but also, the quality has to be exceptional. So when you're listening to it, it's like, oh, it's a real album. It's not like a mixtape. It's not like, just recorded anywhere.
Yeah.
So that's how I got into pretty much the hip hop on a professional level.
When it comes to you started with like the rock and roll. How different is it recording and engineering a rock and roll album versus a hip hop album?
Well, I did some Trans-Siberian Orchestra, which they're pretty much rock and roll, hard rock, classical, Christmas music type of thing. And I've done a lot of recording on my own. The quality should be the same, with the difference of, the outcome, what you want it to sound like. Because there's even if you just look at rock and roll, certain bands sound differently than other bands, more bassy, more, more clear, less music, more, more, how could I say it? Like cleaner.
Yeah.
And same thing with hip hop. There's like Wu-Tang has that dark sound, but you can also hear the quality of the vocals. When I was recording Method Man, it was very bass heavy, but his vocal still had to be clear so you could understand them. And, it's perceivably, it's, intelligible.
Yeah.
It can't be raw and it's like all muffled. You can't hear, you can't hear the music or whatever. And then there's other music like other groups are clearer, but they're still hip hop, less bass or whatever. So quality wise, I think it's very similar.
Okay.
Yeah.
So once you kind of started to make that transition to hip hop, you kind of found yourself at this is your home and this is what you're gonna really run away with at that point. Um, you talk about the grittiness and the rawness of the hip hop compared to the way the rock and roll was, which it kind of faded out a bit. What do you think about the transition? You get into like the mid to late 2000s, and we kind of started to see that same transition in hip hop that rock and roll had in the late 80s, where it started to become that polished designer type music.
Right. I mean, I'm also, when I started working with Mobb Deep, the first song we did was Mariah Carey on the Roof remix, which was an incredible start. And then we started doing Murder Music. I thought that was it. That was the group for me because the music, Havoc's beats, and
Yeah.
their vocals. And I see the Mobb Deep shirt. Peace.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Mobb Deep forever. Um, I was like, this is for me. This is the sound that I want to do. But I also listened to their earlier stuff, specifically Hell on Earth. I mean, The Infamous is like classic gold standard. But Hell on Earth was amazing, but also was a little bit darker.
Yeah.
What I wanted to do is make it a little bit more polished, but still gritty and street, but just more polished, a little bit more for radio, which we achieved. I mean, Murder Music is their best-selling, album, and I worked really hard. Before Havoc and Pete came in the studio, and after they left, I was still working on the music, making it, polishing it, and producing it, fixing it, and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
No,
so
Murder
I
Music
was
is a
part of
real
that
polished. Yeah.
polishing. Say again.
The Murder Music, you can hear the quality in that album. It sounds like a very well put together, polished product.
Yeah, and still street and still raw, and the rhymes are still,
Mm.
everything is, it's still them. So I was part of the, turning, making it a little bit more polished. I mean, just like Diddy wanted, to make Biggie a little bit more polished, but still keep the rawness. So there's definitely nothing wrong with that. Some people like to keep it raw, but it's still raw. You
Yeah.
know, yeah.
And you worked on as well HNIC and Infamy, correct?
Yes, yep, both of them. HNIC was a little bit different because with Murder Music, basically every night the whole Queensbridge used to come through, 20, 30 people. With the HNIC, it was very slimmed down. A lot of times it was just like me and P and a couple other people, that's it. P was really highly concentrated on that album. Um, so it was a little bit different, yeah.
Um, I can't even imagine the epic studio sessions you had with all those guys in the studio, just in their zone, recording, making great music. Like it must have been something that you're gonna look back on forever and just cherish those memories.
That's for sure. Sometimes I'm honored. Obviously, I'm honored and blessed, but also I'm kind of a ham of hip hop. I'm like, oh my God, you did that, Steve. That's good for you. I pat myself on the back. But also, people say, oh, you're lucky to have been there. But you if you're not there 24/7 every day in the studio, the luck is not gonna come. So it's only a small percentage of luck. The other big percentage is work hard, to get where you are and be at the studio all the time. I remember I used to be there sometimes 2 or 3 days, and not even go home, just
Yeah.
just to be in the sessions. And besides just the crew, the Mobb Deep crew, we had everybody coming through. Nas, Busta Rhymes, like in the halls, you'd see Eve, you'd see like people just coming through saying hello. They wanted to get on the album. It was like a big, huge ordeal, actually.
Um, so getting into engineering, what is the startup like to get into that side of things? Take away you can go to school and learn about it. In terms of equipment wise, like, is it a costly startup to get into engineering?
It could be. Some people need the schooling for a push. I know it helped me a lot. It helps you how to learn. Because you're in school and you got to do certain projects or whatnot. When people start studying on their own, they watch one YouTube video and then they get sidetracked, especially now with social media. You can get sidetracked instantly by other things.
Yeah.
So schooling knowledge is really, it could come from within, and there's a lot of, things that you can learn on the internet, but not necessarily everybody that's on the internet knows what they're talking about. So, a lot do. Um, you have to be diligent and relentless and really study, not
Yeah.
just play around, and don't be a parrot. You can copy, different things, but you have to know why you're doing it. And a good example for me is when I went to school, Pro Tools was not around. We were doing analog strictly. So I didn't learn Pro Tools in school. I learned it on my own. And back then it was a little bit harder because it wasn't like, oh, you can go on the internet and study this, but you open up the book, the Pro Tools book, and you keep reading, reading, and reading. And one when I was an assistant, one guy was like, I asked him, oh, I don't understand about this console. He's like, well, did you read the manual? I was like, yeah, I read it from top to bottom, and the manuals are like this thick on those consoles, those $1 million consoles. He said, well, read it again. And after that, you asked me the same question. So he wanted me to read it twice, which I totally agree. Like you have to know it like the back of your hand. So if you're willing to do that, you could definitely study on your own or go to school. They're both very, uh, venues that you could take. It just
Yeah.
depends on the person.
Um, do you think when it comes to engineering, or even just knowing music in general, that there's some people that will go out there, go to school for it, and there's a certain ability to identify and hear certain things that you just can't teach?
Um, well, certain sensibility
Yeah.
that you can't teach, but certain things that you never heard before, and the teacher or the professor shows you, you'll be like, oh, I've had many students. I've mentored. Colleges and universities used to send me students to mentor, and I would teach them certain things that took me 5 years on my own to discover. I was like, oh, how come I didn't hear that first, before or now? It took me 5 years, and a teacher or producer or a professor could show you more quickly. So it's definitely beneficial uh, many times to get somebody to teach you, show you, mentor you, go to school. It might speed up the process of you learning, on your own.
When an artist comes to you to work with, um, obviously they know they're coming to somebody that they're gonna get like top-notch quality that you're not gonna get anywhere else. And a lot of times your quality is from years of experience and trial and error, and that's where, some of the newer engineers, you can't get that because they don't have that 20 plus years of experience. So when somebody brings a track to you, do they give you creative freedom to do your thing?
Usually they do. and I appreciate that. I like to mix it. I mean, recording is, you do a good recording. It's also like producing, vocal producing. I help with that. But after that, I do what I hear, and I'm humble about it because it's their vision.
Hmm.
It's their art, their song. So I'm definitely, after I do that, then they say, "Oh, can we try this? Can we?" I like to hear it more like this. It's definitely like a team effort. But a lot of the times, I get it 80, 90, 100% on my own. What I hear is also what they would like. So I'm happy that happens. Sometimes, they want it very different, but that doesn't happen very often.
Um, have you ever had someone come to you, and I'm asking this question because I've had a couple other engineers on the show previously. And have you ever had someone come to you wanting to do a project and you've just said, I'm not the guy for this project? Without naming names?
Right, right, right. Um, well, not necessarily that way, but um, it was what comes to mind is a specific up and coming artist, specific song that we were doing, uh, and they were like, "Oh, just push it to the max," and I was like, "It's gonna distort." They're like, "No, no, just make it loud, make it loud." I was like, "Well, that's not loudness has to be controlled too, because on the radio or on the CD or on social media is going to distort." Well, I don't care. I'm paying for it. I was like, well, it's my name on it, so I'm not doing it. I'm
Hmm.
not gonna like people are gonna be. They're not gonna know you told me to do it. They're gonna hear it all distorted, and it's. But I like it like that. Well, there's a certain thing about distortion, right? The You Can Hate Me Now, like Nas with Diddy. You
Yeah.
hear distortion, but it's purposely. It's actually overdriving the microphone. But
Yeah.
that's a controlled distortion. That's not just crazy over peaked. So that's beautiful. Distortion could be incredible. Certain trap music that has that 808 and it's distorted, but it sounds great because it's meant to be like that.
Hmm.
Breaking up and what have you. So yeah, I was like, listen, I'm not gonna do that. You don't have to pay me for the session right now. I didn't even try to charge for the session. I was like, it's not gonna work. You don't have to pay. We're just don't worry about tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of the
Basically,
day, it's
yeah,
your product, right? And you have to
yeah,
be 100% satisfied with the product you're putting out. Like you said,
right,
nobody's going to know that they said do it regardless.
right. And
And
money wise, or if the artist is you know well known, a lot of times, it's a little bit harder. You have to. I mean, I have other stories too that I can mention names. It's a little bit harder to talk like to known, famous artists. But I do have a Prodigy one, and I do have a 50 Cent story where, in the end, it worked out well. But if you want, I could tell you.
yeah, go for it. Rest in peace, Prodigy.
Yeah.
He's my top MC, and Forever P. I had his sister on the podcast as well, and
Oh, awesome.
Prodigy is a legend. So I mean, let's hear this Prodigy story.
Okay. I'll start with the 50 Cent because it was
Okay,
it was before the Prodigy, if you don't mind.
sure.
Um, yeah, he was like the mixtape street king,
Okay.
unsigned, and we loved him, and we were gonna do a song with him. We actually did two songs with him before he signed, to Eminem and Dre or whatever, what have you. So basically, he comes to the studio, and before anybody was there, Havoc and P was late as usual, and he plays me "Clap Those Things" or "Bump That."
Okay.
Yeah, or "Bump That." We did both of those songs, and it was just me, 50, and Shamani XL, and my assistant engineer, or whatever. It was only like 4 or 5 people in the room, and we're listening to the song. And I think 50 was like, "Oh, what do you think?" I was like, "Oh, it sounds good, but it could be recorded better." He's like, "Well, what do you mean?" I was like, "Well, the vocal don't sound so great." He's like, "Really?" He's like, "I'll redo them." I was like, "Okay, we can redo them." He's like, "When?" I was like, "Whenever you want." He's like, "Right now." He went in the booth. He did the verse and the hook with he knew his words by heart. Half hour, the whole song was done clear. It was a chunking studio, the green room, and by the time Havoc and P came in, it was recorded not in a little project studio. It was recorded in a world class recording studio. Yeah. Recorded right, and it sounded like a record. So that was the first thing. I'm really glad that he listened and he was humble enough to do it, and I was like, wow, great, that's so awesome. So that's the first story. The Prodigy story, rest in peace, my brother P, Prodigy forever,
Definitely. I'll take a sip to that one right now.
There you go. I should be drinking. I gotta go later somewhere. I'm not drinking. I gotta drive. So I'm drinking water. Cheers to you, my brother. Thank you for having me, man. This is great.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it. I definitely appreciate it. It's an honor.
Yeah. So we were doing the HNIC 2 album, and P comes to the studio. We're listening to the songs, and I said, P, actually it's the third one, HNIC 3. I said, P, the vocals don't sound good. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, it doesn't sound like you. It's not recorded well. He's like, oh, they sound good to me. They sound good to me, and in the truck, at the studio, on my headphones, they sound good everywhere. I was like, well, you went up north for 3.5 years, and then you were recording with somebody else for another 1.5 years or whatever. So that's 5 years that you haven't recorded with me.
Yeah.
So it's it's not right. I'll tell you what. Let's record a couple of songs. I won't even charge you. Come to the studio. We'll just redo it, just me and you. And we recorded a couple of Alchemist songs. He's like, oh man, I hate redoing songs because the vibe is different. When I first did it, I have to redo it or whatever. So we did 2 songs. The third song, he comes out of the booth. He's listening to it. He's like, fuck. I was like, what happened? He's like, fuck, Steve. You mean to tell me I have to re-record the whole album? So after the second song, he started hearing what he was supposed to sound like.
Yeah.
What he always sounded like. And, I'm glad he listened because he really, I wasn't even going to mix it. I wasn't going to mix HNIC 3 because his vocal didn't sound right to me. And even to him now. And to the people never heard those versions, but they hear the regular version. And, he saw the hard work that I put in. He gave me co-executive producer on HNIC 2 and then HNIC 3. On both of those records, he gave me, executive producer, which is a blessing and an honor. So that's my second story. When
did he end up re-recording the whole album?
Yeah.
That's
the vocals.
Yeah.
So
that he from I've got about 11 hours talking with his sister through podcast episodes, and she shared a lot of insight about him, and it sounds like he never changed from the time he was a little kid all the way up until unfortunately he passed. He just stayed true to his character and who he was, and part of that character was stubbornness. And I'm glad that that all worked out and and he was able to hear the quality difference because I know like a lot of artists like himself, they when they want their projects to come out, they want it to be polished, right? And had he had not come to you, who knows the version that everybody would have got.
And I wouldn't have mixed it.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I don't know. Uh, but I'm glad that he did. And P was and really still is because he's still with us
Yeah,
through the music. Extraordinary person, like he would talk before he was going to jail. When we were doing HNIC 2 at my studio on 33rd, he would talk to the fans like for 2 3 hours, and he knew he was going to jail, but like, and he didn't do it for the social media. He did it for the to give back the love. And we were there 12 14 hours a day, like working hard, but also again talking to the fans, and he was humble, but at the same time he was aggressive because you hear it in the words like, oh,
yeah,
I'm one of the best that ever did it. You don't get it twisted.
yeah,
So he was relentless, and he did it for the love. I mean, even when we did "Hey Love," and it was one of the best radio songs of Mom Deep, people were saying, "Oh, it's not hard enough, it's not raw enough." But P didn't do it for the radio. He did it because he loved the song.
yeah,
He loved that song and to do it. So he never did it, to be on the radio or whatever. He did it. He always did it for the music. And like the sister says, it's like he stayed the same. As long as I've known him, he stayed the same.
yeah. It's funny, Hey Love, they caught a lot of heat from their fans for that track. But like you said, I believe that turned out to be the most played track Mobb Deep ever on the radio.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah,
definitely
it's probably the most, with Shook Ones, but it's probably definitely one of the top.
yeah, well, I mean, you think about mainstream radio, it's probably one of the only tracks they've ever done that you could actually put on mainstream radio
Yeah.
without offending people. We'll
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah, and I think it reached pretty high on Billboard. I think it was higher than all the other songs they've done.
Hmm.
Or we've done, together. Yeah.
And you did Quiet Storm remix as well. Um, what what was the differences between the two, having Lil Kim involved and then Havoc as well, putting the remix together versus the original?
For me, when we were gonna do the remix, I was like, oh my God, like it was already iconic. Like the original Quiet Storm was already iconic. So I was like, oh, how are we gonna do that? But then when Little Kim did the verse, I mean, I fell in love with her verse right from the get go. So, and then Havoc getting on it and P redoing his verse. I think it's almost a new song.
Yeah, yeah,
You
it
know,
is.
with the same music. It's that good. It doesn't sound like a remix. Like, oh, here's another verse, because also the you know just a different feeling that I get from the remix.
Yeah. And Quiet Storm originally was supposed to be, I believe, for HNIC. And there's a version out there called White Lines. And I actually prefer that version over the Quiet Storm version.
Wow.
Not for the quality of it. I just like the grittiness of it, the feel of it. There's no chorus. It's just there's just some rawness to it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Hip hop.
Yeah,
The real. That's
yeah.
it. Yeah.
What did you think about the latest Mobb Deep album?
Um, I think it's great, but there's definitely a couple of vocals. I can't believe you're asking me that, but a couple of vocals that I would have been like, oh, let's redo those.
Yeah.
Let's redo those because that doesn't sound like you. And go back and listen to it. So, but
I,
it's a great album.
I think it's a great album. It gives you a bit of nostalgic feel to it while also giving you a modern day mob touch. Um, you'll never be able to recreate classics.
Right.
And I think as fans, you always expect that same thing over and over and over, but you gotta understand as artists, they get more experience as they age. The music's going to change with them, with the times as well. So you can't always expect the same product each and every time.
Right. I
Uh,
agree. Yeah.
Getting into the sound of music, what is your preferred method of listening to music? Like, do you think music sounds better coming from a vinyl, from a CD? Like, what is your preferred listening experience?
Um, it's a tricky question because how was it recorded?
Yeah,
So if you go preference wise, my preference would be recording an analog, which was Murder Music, part of Infamy. Analog tape has a certain beauty to it. It doesn't have the spikes that digital does,
yeah,
and it can get loud. But when it gets loud, it's got like a natural compression of it, like just naturally. So you can push analog and it'll still be smooth. You push digital and it spikes a little bit more. So that would be it. But so records are also analog. But if you record on digital and you got those spikes
yeah,
and then you put it on the record, it's gonna kind of translate a little bit of those spikes onto the record. But the best thing would be record to analog and then play back on records.
okay,
But it's very costly these days. So, what is the best? Okay, well, Lamborghini. Okay, yeah, but I don't have $300,000. Let me get, you know, let me get a Beamer. I can still get there. It still looks good. It's still gonna drive me where I gotta go, and I'm
yeah,
still gonna. So it's still great. But you asked me what the best would be. You know, it's very costly because then you have to, with the analog, you have to have analog consoles and analog uh, tape decks, and they could be like $150,000, and then the wiring, and then if you have a recall back then, you'd have to recall all the songs. So it could cost like $5,000 a day, and then if you have to recall to change something, it would be an extra half a day. So it's very costly.
yeah.
Yeah.
So when it comes to artists, like, you're breaking down costs a bit there. And when it comes to artists coming to record, is that where you think getting major deals from major record labels, that's really where the assistance financially comes into to being able to record an album?
Well, that doesn't apply anymore because you could record really inexpensively. When they come to me, I have the experience and my ears, from playing guitar from 30 years ago. It's like that's analog. Speakers are analog. Our ears are analog. So I try and, even though we're using digital, I try and use that sensibility and
Yeah,
those ears, the heart and soul, and try to make it a little bit warmer, more like analog. But the studio expense is not as much as it was. Now it's like instead of 5,000 a day, you could do it, 500, uh,
okay.
a whole day rather, yeah. So it's a bigger, So I don't know. I think that the artists get major deals for the promotional part of it, and the industry machine, the music business machine, rather than oh, I need studio time. That was back then,
Yeah.
you know.
So
Because
like,
if you recorded yourself 30 years ago on you know, that equipment sounded bad, so you needed a record company to actually make a record and sound good, even to pay for the studio time. You know.
going back to that era and the late 90s, early 2000s when we were still back in that time, not figuratively, but roughly, what would be the cost involved in an artist coming and recording and mixing a full album? Like, not specifically from you, just generalizing, right?
Right. Well, generalize. I'm gonna mention us, Murder Music, also because it got bootlegged, but
Yeah.
we received $1 million to record the album, which included the studio, the engineers, the producers, the features, and then it got bootlegged, so we needed a little bit more. It's probably like 1.6 or $1.8 million to record the album, 45 songs. But it also took 18 months to do, because even without Murder Music, other artists, like when you're recording, it's not like digital tape where you just hit play, hit play, hit play, and everything. Now it's very different. The beats are done at home and then they send it to you. Back then, the producers used to come in with an MPC and go through the console. I mean, the good thing about that is the preamps. I use analog preamps for the vocals, which is hardware, not just software in the computer. So and back then, everything was going through that, and that's what gave it, the balls, the
Yeah.
rawness, the hardness. So now I try to put, a lot of those, analog hardware onto, when we record at least. So it was
Uh,
costly for everybody. It was costly back then.
when when you record albums, what has been some of the most memorable albums you've put together that really stand out, that you were in sync with the artist, you were on the same vision path, like everything was just perfection.
Yeah, I think I was gonna say Murder Music, but I think HNIC was probably ahead of that
Okay.
because again, it was me and Prodigy most of the times, and we were in sync. Like, uh, but Murder Music's probably second because we were there all the time. It was and it was, it was the same engineer, so it was like it's the same artist. So we were in sync. It wasn't like a whole bunch of engineers and coming through and different sound. It was cohesive.
Yeah.
The Biggie duets was also really great. I mean, Diddy gets a bad rap for his personal life, but I think his ears are great. Like he has really tuned ears to what's good, and he could hear it. His ears are like he could hear it like an engineer, not like a executive producer. Like he hears, the very minuscule things. It's like, oh, okay, oh yeah, raise that, oh yeah, by not 2 dB, but like by a quarter dB. Most people will
Yeah.
not hear that, and us engineers do. But it was like very, very cool to work with somebody that's an executive producer that could actually hear that. So that was amazing.
How hard was that project, Biggie Duets? Because you're essentially taking all the vocals of somebody that's no longer with us. Rest in peace to Biggie. And so you have the artists come in and they record their vocals. How do you put it all together, and how do you figure out like what vocals of Biggie is going to go with certain tracks and vocals of other artists?
I really wasn't involved in that. I mean, even though I mixed about 5 or 6 songs on that album, I was pretty much the mixing engineer.
Okay.
Um, so, I mean, Puffy had, great executive producers, Harv Pierre, and, uh, D. Dot Angeletti that put a lot of that stuff together, that figured it all out before I even got it.
Yeah.
I was in charge of pretty much mixing it.
Okay. Okay. And
Yeah.
that was another iconic album right there that I don't think got the credibility it deserved. It was a good album.
Yeah. I mean, one of my top 10 favorite songs that I've ever worked on was with Big Pun, Fat Joe, and Biggie. I mean, that's to me that I was getting goosebumps because at the beginning of the intro, they Big Pun was interviewed, and it was like, oh, you never got to do a song with Biggie. He's like, yeah, I was supposed to do a song with Biggie, but we never got it done. Maybe we'll do it at the pearly gates.
Mm,
And here I am mixing the album, and they're both at the pearly gates. I'm like, I'm getting goosebumps now. I'm like, oh
yeah.
shit, I better make this sound real good. you know. But that was, to me, that was still iconic feeling that day and forever. I mean, that's just, I'm humbled to have been a part of that.
It's really sad that, all these artists you're mentioning, we got to say RIP to.
Yeah.
There's so many legends that are just gone way too soon. And sometimes, do you ever wonder, like, what would hip hop be like today if, Big Pun, Biggie, Big L, Prodigy, I mean, all
Tupac.
these Tupac, if they were all still around, do you think hip hop would have reached the decline it reached?
I think it would have been different. I hope that it would have been different. I hope that, those are such great artists. I mean, the new generation can say, oh yeah, but yeah, you do, but I think you would have been influenced
Yeah,
by them. They would have been, even though they were older, they would have been up your butt, like with your rhymes. Like, you better get your rhymes straight, uh,
yeah.
and sharpen your pencils. So I think they would have influenced each other.
Could you imagine if fantasizing for a minute, we got a Prodigy and Tupac track?
Oh my God.
Because their awareness to the world and society was so on point with each other.
Yeah,
And I think we could have gotten some of the most conscious hip hop ever out of those two.
I think so too. I mean, I love Tupac, and the aggressiveness he had, and the songs, and he's a performer. He probably, I mean, probably with the pen was not like Biggie, but like as a performer, as an entertainer, as an artist, he was incredible.
Yeah,
And imagine all three of them together, on a song. Yeah, and I believe that Tupac loved Mobb Deep. That's why he was picking on them, and P loved Tupac too. You
yeah,
know, some of the interviews that I've seen lately, he appreciated Tupac.
yeah. And you know what? You get older, you get wiser, and you realize certain things, and you grow more of an appreciation sometimes with the wisdom of age. And man, that would have been iconic had we been able to get a couple tracks like that. I'm gonna ask you a question. I don't know if you'll be able to answer this one because it's hard. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Mount Rushmore. Mount Rushmore has four heads on it. If you were to take four MCs, who would you put on the Mount Rushmore of hip hop?
So MCs, not necessarily like hip hop entertainers, just as the pen, or artists.
Just as the pen, lyrical MCs.
Okay, lyrical. Wow. Usually they say top five, but uh, I mean definitely Biggie because he did some stuff. Even the fast stuff
Hmm.
he did is incredible. I think Jay-Z, and I might be biased. I have to put P because he did some iconic verses in hip hop that are just as good as the other two.
Yep.
So and yeah, and Nas, runner up Eminem because he's lethal with the pen.
Yeah.
Um, the flow is a little bit kind of regimented, uh, but he does things that the other guys can't do or couldn't do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so Mount Rushmore would be definitely Prodigy, Jay Z, Biggie, and Nas.
That's a good Mount Rushmore right there.
You know,
Um, Mount Rushmore of producers.
wow. I did not know. I did not. I was going to ask you what's your Mount Rushmore, but
Oh,
I guess I'll go.
my Mount Rushmore of MCs would be Prodigy, Nas, Cool G Rap, and Illa G.
Illa G.
Hmm.
Wow, he's my man. He's my brother. I produced like 3 tracks for him. He's incredible. Like people were like, "Yo, what'd you mean? What'd you say? What are you talking about?" He's like, "You gotta dumb it down a little bit so we can understand." He was like, "I already dumbed it down." He's like, "I already dumbed it down."
Yeah, Illa G does not get the credit he deserves.
For sure, for sure.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, he's amazing. So, yeah, for Mount Rushmore producers, definitely Havoc. Um, I mean, what comes to mind is Scott Storch. I mean, some of the people that
Yeah.
because he's also a musician, and I appreciate that. Um, oh, it's hard. There's so many incredible. Uh, there's so many incredible. I mean, Just Blaze, Kanye. I'd have to think about it because, I'm a producer myself, so I'd have to like
Yeah.
really analyze. But those are the ones that just came up to me real quick.
Yeah, that's a good list.
Alchemist is a runner up, obviously. But
Me,
uh,
me personally, I would have Alchemist in there because I'm just such a big Mobb Deep fan, and Alchemist was such an iconic part of Mobb Deep. From Murder Music from that point on, they put out so much iconic music, and he really took that West Coast style and really translated it to the New York style, where to the point where people thought he was actually from New York.
right. Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew he was from Cali, but yeah. Who? So okay. So Alchemist. Who else? Your Mount Rushmore of producers.
I would have Havoc on there for sure. I think he's getting more known today for his production, but I mean, you go back and look at some of the beats on the Infamous album. I mean, that's just nostalgic 90s gutter hip hop feel right there.
Iconic. Yeah.
That can't be duplicated. I mean, and you look at some of the production from Q-Tip back then as well,
Wow. Yeah.
and I got to give it up to Primo as well.
Yeah. 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 Those are all. Yeah. Those are. What about like new producers?
New producers,
Like
um,
from 2000 on.
2000 on. See, like 2000 was kind of a funky era when we got into that fashion type mainstream, Nellies and stuff like that. I wasn't the biggest fan of 2000s era hip hop per se. A lot of people, they still stayed true to their style, but one person that I really like recently is AdWords. He's been I had Indigo Phoenix. She was on a couple weeks ago. She's got a lot of work with him. Vince Vega, really dope producer out of France. Um, Hard Money. So he was part of the Filthy Immigrants back in the 90s. He's got some good production, so I would mention them. What about yourself?
Um, okay, I'd be at the bottom of Mount Rushmore with a chisel, right, and a hammer, because
Yeah,
I'm also Italian, so the sculptor.
yeah.
So I'd be at the bottom, like Steve Sola, because I've been producing a lot. I'm still underground, but I'm chiseling. Okay, I appreciate the producers before me, but I'm always going so hard. I don't know if you've heard, I did two EPs, the Mixking EPs,
Yeah.
which I produced all this. I recorded, mixed, mastered, and produced all the tracks on all, both albums. And Prodigy blessed me with it, with verses and songs, Havoc, Infamous Mob, Big Noid, Iman Thug, even Hot Rod was on it. Like there was some powerful people on my albums which were independent. I paid for it myself. So lately I've been doing, I've been trying to do more 360, full circle.
Yeah.
Now I know I'm shouting my stuff out, as an advertisement, but I've been doing. I'm trying to do a whole album for Iman Thug, one from Rock, a whole album for Rock, Mr. QB,
Okay.
Terrell. I got Meg One, that kind of things. I,
I
I
need
we just we I just came across this song that I did years ago with Sam Scarfo and Straps. You remember Sam
yeah.
Scarfo? Yeah, and it's I just reposted it on Instagram, and it's getting good reviews. And it sounds like it came out today, and it's like 10 years ago or something like that. I really like that song. They killed it.
That
I produced that one too.
I need to go back and listen to more of your production because to be honest, I knew you were like the mix king.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were so heavy into production side as well. So I need to go back and re-listen to a lot of stuff to really hear the production because now my Mount Rushmore is probably gonna change.
No, no, it won't.
To be honest,
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I
Thank you.
gotta
I
be honest.
appreciate that,
Yeah.
but it probably won't. Yeah.
No, it might because there's one person on there that's on the edge, so they might get
Uh-huh.
bumped out. Before we cut out quickly, what's in your playlist today? What are you listening to when you go out in the car, you drive around, you're at home chilling?
Oh, the songs that I'm mixing, because I have to, uh, not just in the studio. I got to hear it with headphones. I got to hear it in my truck. I got to I got to hear how it sounds in different environments. So whoever that I'm working with, or some of my productions, and just to finalize what I was talking about, some of my productions on Murder Music.
Yeah.
There was 45 songs. I produced song number 14. I was doing the beat. Havoc walks in. He's like, "What's that?" I was like, "I hit stop." He's like, "No, no, play it. Let me hear that." I was like, "Okay." He's like, "Who did that?" I was like, "I did it." He's like, "Oh, let it play, let it play." I turn around. He's on the couch writing to my beat. 1998, 1999. I was like, "Oh my God." So then when P spit on it, he's like, "Yeah, I like that song. Hav did his thing." I was like, "Yo, P, I made the beat." He's like, "I thought Havoc did the beat." It didn't make the album, but it's just in my mind, it's an iconic moment,
Yeah.
of my history and then on the HNIC album, I also did a beat on it, and it was a little slower, you know, it was almost like, DMX, you know, like one of the, I forget the name of it, but it was a slow song. You know, P later on, 3 years later, is like, oh, I should have used that version because he redid the version, but it was a slow, you know, it was a slow beat, great song. But anyway, yeah.
All right, and let everybody know where they can contact you, where they can find you, if they want to get some work done. Where can they find Steve Sola?
Thank you, bro. I appreciate you. You know, social media, if you just say Steve Sola or my website, themixking.com, you know, Steve Sola will show up, you know, Instagram, and again, my website, it'll have all my social media, you know, my number or what have you. The studio's in New York City, by Wall Street where the money is, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, we're about to cut off on the block, and I truly appreciate your time. Time is the most expensive currency in the world because we don't get it back. So I appreciate you joining us. I appreciate you giving the fans the stories. And till next time, I appreciate it, brother.
Me too. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me. I love this hip hop stuff. I love music. So I'm glad that, you know, hopefully some people will get a lot out of it. Some will get a little something, you know, hopefully, you know, to give back.
And keep doing what you're doing, man, because you're doing great things and you're keeping hip hop alive. So,
Awesome.
all right, peace.
Peace. Thank you, brother.
I want to send a special shout out, Cigar Talk Toronto. Special shout out to Croatian Mafia Cigars. It's for the gangsta in you, nigga. It's for the gangsters. DJ Mikey G. Put some cut on that dope. Lefty Pacino. Take it personal. Take it personal. Click, clack the beam. Take it personal. I spit the caffeine. Take it personal. Feel what I mean? The 30R6 to M16s. We got them bugging. I'm your favorite uncle. I'm the alcoholic street niggas with the guns and the duffel. I'm the one that used to smoke the cigar and whip the truffle. The one that Granny said always started trouble. The backcourt shot a triple-double. Coach kicked me out the gym cause the gun was bigger than the muscle. Now let me introduce you to the hustle. I whip the white till it locked and snip the residue above my knuckles. The epitome of street scuffle. I hit him hard with the banger, I was trying to make the belt buckle. I hit the corner and I make it bubble. What's in the pocket of my goose will make your feathers ruffle. I don't trust you, make the gauge bust you. We keep the circle tight, you just another square if we don't discuss you. Take it personal. Click, clack the beam. Take it personal. I spit the caffeine. Take it personal. Feel what I mean? The 30R6 to M16s. We gotta plug in. Take it personal. Click, clack the beam. Take it personal. I spit the caffeine. Take it personal. Feel what I mean? The 30R6 to M16s. We gotta get pillage through your village. Leave my spillage on your mistress. Attacking everything, you go on the hit list. Burn the evidence, witness. Told the lawyer eat the case with the biscuit. Looked the judge in the face and told him stick it. Smacked the plaintiff in the face and told him fix it. Tap the Henny on the bottom, then we lift it. Fully equipped, the blue beamer and it's kitted. Bend the corner 730, then we hit him. The bars leave a bad taste, so I spit them. Machete 50-50 sharp, so I split them. The black expedition put me in position. Focus on the mission, full tunnel vision. Every verse calculated, spoken with conviction. My condition is to grind every day by tradition. Built it from the dirt, self-made composition. Competition for you in every breath is ammunition. Take it personal. Click, clack the beam. Take it personal. I spit the caffeine. Take it personal. Feel what I mean? The 30R6 to M16s. We gotta plug in. Take it personal.